What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, I guess kind of welcome to day four of the winter meetings. I know it's like partial day four. It's like
Last day.
last day
Last
of,
day.
of
Yeah,
winter
people leave
meetings.
early tomorrow morning.
Yeah. There's not a lot of going on, be honest with you there, but we will recap it. I've been stockpiling stuff for this podcast, stuff that we haven't really talked about quite yet. If you missed any of the previous winter meeting podcasts, go ahead and check them out. Day one recap, two recap, three recap. Big shout out to Thomas Murray of Sports Tribune for joining us last night. Real fun podcast with him. So go ahead and check that one out. Go give him a follow too if you do not already. And we do have some news worth noting news. I want to talk about the Rule 5 draft, of course. A lot of people wanted to know, maybe get some reports on these guys. I do have reports for you guys. But first, before we get Rule 5, some minor league signings and some rumors going, just want to thank everybody for watching and listening to this podcast. I know there's a football game on. There's a bunch of other stuff you can be doing. So really do appreciate you spending the time here with us at Talking Halos. If you could go ahead, subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. Leave a review if you want to as well. That'd be awesome. If you have questions for us, drop it at on our social medias, X, Instagram, Facebook. Absolutely love getting questions. Same thing in the comments on YouTube. Drop them in the comments. I'll try to answer them. We'll probably more than likely go over it for you guys if you do have any questions moving forward. And go ahead and follow myself and Nate on X. Myself at Jared_Timms, Nate at Nate Green 34. And give us 1 minute to pay the bills. All right, Nate. Day four, winter meetings, a lot of fun. This was action packed up until probably the last 24 hours. I'd say the last 24 hours has been a little bit slow. I mean, we've had some. It started with the Juan Soto, really kind of ended with the Garrett Crochet thing. Actually, honestly, it kind of started with Willie Adames. I know it was a day before, or 2 days before, depending on when you say the winter meetings start. You had Juan Soto. Felt like the first leading up to it the first 2 days and a couple days after that, a lot of fun, a lot of rumors swirling around. It's the fun thing about the winter meetings. I wish the winter meetings were a lot longer than this, but absolute blast to talk about it. Angels received the number 2 overall pick. If you missed that, if you lived under a rock or something, we talked about that. I mean, it's been an absolute blast talking winter meetings here. Um, Minor league news for the Angels. Angels make two splashes. One decently big one not as big. I'll start with the not as big one. Indris Briseño, right-handed reliever, was with the Diamondbacks last year in AAA, so the Reno Aces. He signed a minor league deal with the Angels. And then also the bigger name, Victor Gonzalez, former Dodgers reliever, former Yankee reliever. Honestly, a very good career. 4-year career, I think his
It's
ERA.
been really good.
Yeah, 3.36 ERA, left side. Never upset about signing a guy like this, especially to a minor league deal. I don't know how many times we say that, but anything to a minor league deal, I think we said it kind of about, Dakota Hudson, the last two signings, Carter Kieboom. Definitely not upset about seeing somebody like this, hopefully in AAA and as a nice depth piece, just in case something happens to the Angels bullpen. And in all honesty, if Victor Gonzalez was in the Angels bullpen at some point, it's not something I would be totally upset about because he's shown to be a very good pitcher. He's pitched with, again, the Dodgers, who's very high level, and he's pitched with the Yankees at a very high level as well. So extremely excited to see the Victor Gonzalez deal. And I don't know if you have anything to say about these two signings, Nate.
Well, Victor Gonzalez started a little bit for the Dodgers before getting called up to the big. So like that could be another interesting thing. The Angels love to take some of these relievers and put them back into the rotation. So that could be something that they try as well, is put Gonzalez back in like the AA or AAA rotation. I know one of those rotations going to be very, very stacked with talent, but the other one's going to be missing probably a couple pieces. So that's a possibility. And, they still have a lot of left-hand relievers. We'll talk about one here in a second that they went and just got, but Quijada, Burke, and now Gonzalez. So you never know. Maybe one of these guys gets moved and Gonzalez has a shot to make the roster, but he has had some success in the major leagues. And I think it just brings another key guy that could help this bullpen, because the Angels are still probably, you know, minimum two bullpen pieces away from really finishing off this bullpen.
Yeah. It's like I said, minor league deals. I'm never really gonna be upset about it. we'll probably see Briseño in Double A to some degree. It's a big arm that you probably got to work with. Victor Gonzalez, probably be in Triple A Salt Lake, if not working his way to a major league spot. You never know how he pitches in spring training, and kind of what the Angels have like to do is, their younger talent guys that they think they want to develop. They'll put them in Double A, put them in Rocket City, and then you'll see a lot more of the former major leaguers in Triple A. That might be a little bit of a different scenario this year, and a little bit last year as well. I mean, we were seeing some guys, Bryce Teodosio, Sam Bachman, Victor Medeiros play in AAA, which is good to see. And Salt Lake does have a new stadium as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to maybe push a couple more guys, a couple more pitchers in particular to AAA and not just pull everybody from AA. So yeah, exciting news. I mean, we want more news, bigger news than, two minor league signings, but we definitely want to cover it because these guys could be two decently big pieces down the road. So let's go ahead and talk a little Rule 5 draft. If nobody knows what the Rule 5 draft is, basically you have to add players to your 40 man to not get
You
picked
don't have
to not get picked in the Rule 5. You have to add
yes.
them to the 40 man to not get picked in the Rule 5. There's a bunch of rules before that. They have to be in the organization for a certain number of years as well. And then they have the minor league portion as well. So there's the major league portion, minor league portion. First off, the major league portion, where you have to add this guy to the 40 man and you have to keep him on your roster the entire season,
The whole year.
whole year, right? To keep him, which is definitely going to be something that we talk about here with the first Rule 5 pick that the Angels made. Garrett McDaniels from the Dodgers, big left-handed arm. Got some conflicting reports as a starter. He's 92 to 94, can touch 96. As a reliever, 94 to 96, can touch 98. So he's starter, reliever, depending on where the Angels want to put him. He does have to make the 26-man roster out of spring training, or else the Angels have to send him back to the Dodgers. Dodgers don't have to accept him. They might not. But if he doesn't make the 26 man out of spring training, opening day roster, he does get shipped back to the Dodgers. Very interesting arm, but somebody who hasn't really pitched above high A either. He's pitched 3 innings in Double A, hasn't touched Triple A. But I know got a lot of really good reports from people on McDaniels, a lot of Dodgers prospects, people that are saying that this is a very interesting arm. It might be, I wouldn't say young, because I think he's 25, but like an
Mhm.
inexperienced arm. Let's go with that.
Yep.
So before we talk about the other two guys, Garrett McDaniels from the Dodgers, Nate, you got anything here?
Yeah, a lot of people were confused on why he was even eligible for this draft because as a college guy, you get 4 years, I believe, in the org. As a high school guy, you get 6 years in the org. Um, he signed with the Dodgers, and then he signed coming off TJ, so he didn't even pitch the first year. So he is another TJ guy, small school, and then worked his way through the minor leagues, rookie ball, low A, and all the way up to Double A this last year, where he threw 3 innings. But he started as a starter, and it was not that impressive. And I think even a lot of the Dodgers scouts and people like that are saying like, it was okay as a starter, not that impressive. And then they moved him into a reliever role, and he like started striking guys out. He started to have really good stuff. A little bit of a funk, which I know Perry and staff love with their relievers. Um, Interesting to see potentially a third left-handed reliever in the bullpen. They obviously could offer him back, but it does cost the Angels a little bit of money to offer him back because I believe it's what 100K to
100K to
select
draft.
him, and you get 50K back when you give him back to the Dodgers. So it'll cost him 50K, which is not that much money, but still. Um, so yeah, that's a lot of a lot of people were saying the Angels would not take anyone in the major league portion of the Rule 5, and they did. So I think some people were caught off guard with this pick, and it's interesting for sure. He's got some upside with a reliever. I don't think he's a starter, but he's got some upside as a reliever.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to get every opportunity in spring training to make the big league squad, 100%, because he has to, or else again, they have to ship him back to the Dodgers. And yes, I had actually typed out on X, the Angels did not make a pick in the major league portion of the MLB. I had it all typed out. I was ready to go. And then I look up and I see somebody walking up and I'm like, oh shoot, they're drafting somebody. All right. So delete. I know I don't, there weren't very many people But I did say right before to a couple people, I was like, hey, 39. So I guess you never know. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. So definitely a name to keep an eye on during spring. I'm sure we'll talk about him during spring training a lot because, again, I'll say this for the last time, maybe not for the last time, but he has to make the 26-man roster out of spring training, or else they have to give him back to the Dodgers, or at least offer him back to the Dodgers.
which it
So
sounds like they would take him back.
I would assume so, yeah. But yeah, we'll go ahead and see. Side note here, kind of interesting. There was a Rule 5 draft traded right away. Did you see that?
Yep. Yeah.
Kind of weird. I don't know how often that happens.
Very,
I
very
didn't know.
typical.
Is it typical? I feel like I never see that happen.
Very typical.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton was drafted and then traded.
Yes. Within 24 hours. Drafted by the Reds, traded to the Rangers within 24 hours. Rangers took him, put him on the roster, and he raked out of his mind.
Do the Rangers if the Rangers didn't, if 26 man him or 25 man him at the time,
Yes,
would
they still have to 26 man. No matter what happens, if you are drafted in the Rule 5, you are ineligible to be sent down unless offered back to the other team. So
there you go.
that typically it's a thing where a team is a little scared that somebody ahead of them is going to take said player, and they call somebody, a friend. It would be like Atlanta being like, "Hey Perry, we're afraid so and so is going to get taken before us. Will you please take this guy? We'll give you cash considerations, and we'll pay the 100K that you owe whoever it is, and maybe we'll throw in international free agent money or something like that, which could be very enticing right now with some people trying to get Sasaki. So it happens probably once a year, once every other year. So it's not too crazy.
That's fair. So, last little bit of news, and we don't really have to discuss it too much here, but the Angels minor league affiliate San Bernardino will be moving back to Rancho Cucamonga. Kind of big news because a lot of people grew up with the Angels being the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. So the Angels will be going back to Rancho Cucamonga. Whether they're going to be called the Quakes or not, I don't know. I would assume they're going to continue to be called the Quakes, but yeah, if you are in the San Bernardino area, not this year in 2025, but they will be returning in 2026 to Rancho Cucamonga. The Dodgers are moving to a new facility in Ontario, and San Bernardino will be the Seattle Mariners starting 2026. Kind of cool. There's a lot of buzz middle of the season, and then I think a lot of people forgot about it that something like this might happen. And now it did. So kind of sucks for Modesto because Modesto's a fantastic. They have great facilities and things like that, and that the fan base out there is awesome. But yeah, it's good to see another team out in San Bernardino, and I haven't covered any games in Inland or in Rancho, so we'll see how that goes. So a little bit of rumor mill action. The Angels did, in fact, we talked about this last night, the Gleyber Torres thing. Angels offered Gleyber Torres, and I guess he has since rejected the offer, but it seems like he does, in fact, want to stay on the East Coast, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of the time, if you start playing on the East Coast, you like to kind of stay on the East Coast. We see it a lot with players. Charlie Morton's another name where everybody talks about, oh, the Angels should sign Charlie Morton, and I automatically cross him off the list because I know Charlie Morton's going to want to stay on the East Coast. And with that being said, I'm sure Charlie Morton tomorrow is going to sign with the Oakland A's or something like that, or with the A's or with Seattle or something weird like that. And I'm going to be chewing my words. But Gleyber Torres will not come out west, so the Angels will not be signing Gleyber Torres at the moment. I guess, weird things could happen. You could overpay for him or something like that, and he may want to come out west. But Nate, thoughts on Gleyber Torres not signing with the Angels?
He also said he refuses to play third base, which is just like, does he talk to his agent about this stuff? Like, you realize the second base market is not huge.
Well, I think it's stupid from if I'm Ron Washington and I hear that, I'm like, no, I don't want this guy. Like for me, that's an I guy mentality, and that's just something that I don't think fits the Angels mold.
Well, I brought it up yesterday with him. Like, you're on the freaking Yankees. You're on a playoff team that has a shot to win a World Series, and they go out and get Josh Chisholm, and you go, yeah, I'm not going to move to third. It's like, you do realize this kind of helps, your value. Other teams would see you as a third baseman. You could potentially make some more money. And he's like, no, I'm a second baseman. Okay. Robinson Cano is really the only second baseman to make a lot of money and play second base. And he's a lot better than you were. So you better temper the expectations of how much money you're going to be getting. And a lot of teams really have second basemen. So, or they could just go get Kim for probably half of what you're asking for. So I think this is ridiculous and not the smartest move I've ever heard, but to each their own. And I didn't want him anyway. He can't play defense, and he's a very streaky hitter, so it works out for me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I said it last night. It feels like the Angels are just exploring any free agent to try to make the org better. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they've reached out to Pete Alonso because Pete Alonso makes this team better. The lineup becomes automatically better with Pete Alonso. And I'm not saying don't nobody quote tweet me, please, or say anything about that. But I'm
Now
sure the
everyone's going to
Angels.
say that the Angels are interested in Pete
I,
Alonso because you said
I'm
that.
sure
Way to go.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm going to be honest there with you guys. I'm sure it's happened. And the Angels are probably open to exploring any option besides maybe a shortstop now. I think Willie Adames was really the only shortstop that you could push and say like, hey, Zach Neto maybe can move to second, or hey, Willie Adames can play third base. I don't think they're really open to looking for another catcher anymore, but I think everywhere else they're open to trying to get better. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw them connected more and more to players here in the next 2 months before spring training starts, because honestly, it's right around the corner, and there are still a lot of free agents still out there worth talking about. We'll talk about them here in the coming weeks and months for sure. So, yeah, I'm not surprised with Glaber wanting to stay out back east. I'm not surprised that the Angels at least inquired or even made an offer, because I think that again, Glaber makes this team better. Definitely not more expendable,
Maybe.
because I know he definitely makes the team better, because the Angels don't have a lot of players that hit like Glaber either. I know he's even just an average hitter, but I mean, you can even say the Angels don't have a lot of average hitters out there when it's all said and done. Even if he's not a good defender, he's at least an average hitter, and I mean, they don't have too many Taylor Wards on this team, so more Taylor Wards are better. So, speaking of Taylor Ward, on I think it was Monday, maybe Tuesday, Mark,
Monday.
yeah,
Monday.
Monday, man, there was some kind of like we're gonna see something happen here, and nothing really even ever happened. But Monday, Mark Feinsman, um, covers the major leagues back
Hmm.
east. I want to say
Yep.
maybe like the East Coast major leagues. Um, said the Angels are close to making a trade. Tweet came out, and then nothing was ever said after that. A couple tweets were mentioned. Jeff Fletcher said that um, Taylor Ward's agent had no idea what was going on. There were other texts made that weird things happened, and yeah, I don't. Nothing has ever happened, but we can speculate. So let's go ahead and speculate, Nate. Do we think it was Taylor Ward that might have been getting traded?
I do think it's funny that everyone just assumed that it was Taylor Ward. It was weird because like in
I thought it
the
was.
but it was just weird because in the tweet he was like the Angels are close. So it was like half a tweet of like this is happening and then half a speculation. And it was like, so he goes, yeah, the Angels are close to moving an outfielder. Taylor Ward makes the most sense, but don't know if it's him. And it's like, okay, that's weird. You don't typically see a reporter like report the news and then speculate his news that he's reporting. Um, do I think it was Taylor Ward? I don't know. I think there are a lot of Angels outfielders that would make sense to move. I think Joe Dell would make sense to move. I think Mickey Moniak would make sense to move. Taylor Ward obviously makes sense to move. I think that you can't have Joe Dell and Taylor Ward on this roster opening day. I don't think it's good for the Angels. I think we've seen this outfield before last year with Trout, Ward, and Adele, and it wasn't good enough. And I think I've been saying it. I know the Angels don't say it publicly, but I think Trout needs to move to a corner, and that would open up a spot for an Adele or a Ward trade. Um, if it's Ward, I think he brings the most back. Like he could bring back a top 100 prospect, borderline, maybe a top 100 prospect. He could bring back a starting pitcher in return. Like, I know we weren't going to talk about this, but like the Pirates said that they are willing to listen on Mitch Keller. I don't know if that would be something that they would be interested in, a Taylor Ward Mitch Keller type swap. Maybe the Angels would have to throw something else in there. there's just been a lot of teams that have been interested in Taylor Ward, so I think he would make the most sense. But that would not, I would not be shocked if a Tampa Bay, someone who's really good at developing, goes, hey, what does it look like to get a Joe Adele? He's cheap. He's still got some years of control. It's not going to cost us too much. We think that we could fix him. Like that wouldn't shock me either. If there's a team like that who's like, hey, we have a positional need. We're seeing the market kind of go crazy. Teoscar Hernandez is probably going to get 25 million. We don't even think that we could be in that market. What does a Joe Adele trade look like? So it really wouldn't surprise me. He probably is not wrong that a trade will happen. He just was wrong that it was happening, Monday or Tuesday. So
it sounds to me like an agent called and said, "Hey, we need this report to go out because we want our guy to get more money." Like that's what it sounds like to me. Like, oh,
potential.
hey, like the Angels are close to trading an outfielder, and then a bunch of teams start panicking, like, what outfielder, what outfielder? Because everybody's together. It's like, oh, what outfielder, what outfielder? And then all of a sudden, the price on a free agent outfielder starts going up because they want, the Angels were about to trade an outfielder somewhere because there was no, yeah, that's what makes the most sense to me at least. The correct landing spot, not the correct landing spot, but the landing spot that makes the most sense to me. And the Angels have definitely had dialogue with it. I just don't know, not if the Angels, not if this team would say yes to it, but if Artie Moreno would say yes to it, is the Mariners. The Mariners are looking to move a starting pitcher. The Angels are looking to move Taylor Ward. I mean, I don't know if Brian Wu gets it done, but it would make a lot of sense for the Angels and Mariners to just straight swap it would probably almost be like the Kendrys Morales trade. Kendrys Morales for Jason Vargas. That's what it probably would be very similar. A starting pitcher comes to Anaheim, a bat goes up to Seattle. I just don't know if Artie um would approve it, to be honest, because I know that Artie doesn't like to trade with Seattle. Just because of Jerry up there.
I think
Um
he's going to have to grow up and
I would
be
hope
okay with that
so.
trade. I think that he's moved past that, honestly, because um, if he hadn't moved past it, I don't think we would have seen some guys move to Seattle in the last couple of years. He probably would have said, "Hey, let's give him a little bit more money to stay," or things like that. So, um, I think the Mariners make a lot of sense, but we did just hear that I think it was the Red Sox asked for Logan Gilbert for Tristan Casas, and they said no. And I think that they probably value Brian Wu ahead of Logan Gilbert right now with just how good Wu was last year and
I was just
the
throwing out a
metrics
name.
and the stuff. No, I understand, but I just think that you might be looking at a Logan Gilbert, which I really like Logan Gilbert. I think he's got really good stuff. Or you might be looking at oh my gosh, who's the top pitching prospect there that made his major league debut this last year?
Emerson Hancock.
Yeah, you might be looking at someone like that. And I don't know if that moves the needle for you. That kind of replaces kind of where you're at, in my opinion. I think Logan Gilbert moves the needle for the pitching staff, but Emerson Hancock has a shot to be very, very good, but he kind of in a similar spot to Reed Detmers, where it's like Hancock probably doesn't have a spot in the Mariners rotation right now unless they were to move a guy. Um, and yeah, so Logan Gilbert would make the most sense. If this deal were to happen, I would be super psyched about it. I think it would make the Angels starting pitching a lot better. It would save them some money. And, the Angels could go from there and try and get better offensively at third base or second base and continue to try and get better in center field. So this kind of the same things that we've been saying, get better at second or third, get better in center, and get better in the starting rotation and the relief pitching. It'll take care of itself in a couple of weeks when, it gets to February and a couple of guys are begging for a job and you say, here, take a minor league deal and it works out for you. So,
Yep. So I'm gonna give it that as our final thought here. Taylor Ward needs to be traded to the Seattle Mariners. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it could be we could have some happen here in the next coming days, into the weeks. Probably won't be a whole lot going into the new year, to be honest. I feel like it kind of slows down for the next 2 weeks. But hey, I mean, the next full week or so, heading into the Christmas break, I think that there's a chance that we see some guys sign. I think it could be a very active week up until Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then probably slow down for a little bit. So, guys, again, want to thank you all so much for watching and listening here at Talking Halos. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. You can follow us on all our social medias, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just look us up at Talking Halos. You can follow myself on X at Jared_Timsnate and Akarian34. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.